World leaders are continuing talks at the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos. The week-long meeting wraps up tomorrow with Team South Africa having been hard at work trying to get investment and selling the country as the preferred destination. Nzimande is Newzroom Afrika's business editor, and you are standing by, Xolani, to speak to the Higher Education, Science and Innovation Minister, Dr. Nzimande. It's over to you.
Thank you very much, Tutu. Yes, you're absolutely right. This gathering is important to attract investments, but also important to maintain relationships that you have as a country with your partners around the world, and also create new ones and learn from what is happening around the world. And you're right, I'm joined by Dr. Nzimande to speak about his own experience thus far here at the World Economic Forum. Dr. Nzimande, thank you for your time. You have been quite busy for the past few days, and only now you've been able to catch up to what you've been able to do here at the World Economic Forum. So far, what are your big takeaways from this year's forum?
Well, thanks, Xolani. You're right. We've been extremely busy. It's a week, but it feels like 3 weeks already in terms of engagements and what we've been doing. Perhaps I need to start by saying that it was my first time in Davos. I think what I was struck about was that much as it's still the forum of rich people exchanging deals and all that, it's increasingly now also discussing very important policy matters. It's become such a platform. And policy matters that are critical, not just for the developed world, but for the developing world as well. For instance, one of the big issues is its alternative sources of energy. We are very much interested in that. Also, artificial intelligence is a very dominant theme as a new technology that is likely to change the world in so many ways. And it's something that we are embarking upon as South Africa ourselves, to strengthen our knowledge and use of artificial intelligence. And therefore, we have also been having very important exchanges with existing partners that we have to strengthen our relationships, as well as new partners. The one partner we met with their executive vice president with, for instance, this morning, is that of Cisco, the company. We're doing a lot of work with them at home. They are training our college lecturers in digital skills, for instance, which is something that is absolutely important and crucial. But we also had discussions today to say we also need to expand the relationship and focus on new areas, you know, in science, technology, and innovation, not only at the lower level of colleges, but also at upper level in terms of collaboration and so on. But I also do want to say, Xolani, that the other thing which was a disappointment for me, at least in the sessions that I've attended, was that the focus is still more on developed countries. Let me give you an example. I was in a very important and interesting platform yesterday. I participated. It was a session. I was one of the 4 leading input makers on upskilling and reskilling in the light of new technologies and the impact of that on education systems and what actually needs to be done. It's called Skilling and Reskilling Champions, the people who are part of this. And I was struck, you know, by the fact that they have an interesting target. They say in the next year or 2 they want to reskill 1 billion people in the light of the new technologies and so on. But then as soon as they showed the map of where this reskilling has taken place and is going to take place, the African map is blank completely. But the populated map is North America, it's Europe. And then I really got concerned. This is a very key policy issue for everyone. It's important that we engage on this platform, on those matters, and form partnerships, learn from each other. But there isn't enough attention as yet being paid to the developmental gap. Because with these new technologies, I've been raising this, my fear is that we could actually starting another 100 or 200 years of unequal development again.
And that is quite a worrying trend, because your department is becoming central when it comes to economic growth around the world. When you look at science, technology, and innovation, and where those investments are going. So when Africa is not there in terms of the plans to reskill, you tend to ask yourself where we are as a continent in terms of that reskilling. Where do you think our role should be as Africans in terms of raising our hand to say we are also here?
Yeah. Well, there are a number of things that we are doing that we also need to be doing. The first one is precisely to participate in the policy debates at the World Economic Forum. I was a bit skeptical myself before, but I think that is very important, because some of the experimentations that they are doing here are things that are going to be implemented out there. Yesterday we had a demonstration in a session using, amongst other things, artificial intelligence, for instance, to track value chains, where products are produced and transported and distributed and go to consumers, and at the end, from one part to different parts of the world. It just shows that it's something that it's important that we actually participate in this. But our second big opportunity is the African Free Trade Agreement. Because what that agreement, in order for it to become meaningful, it must really promote intra-African trade, which is very important in developing the African continent, to industrialize the African continent. Also, the African continent, by the way, has got one big advantage. Well, two, perhaps I need to say so. One, we're a population of over 1 billion people. And secondly, we are a young continent. It's youth. If we can really be able to empower those young people, and unleash them as innovators, as artisans, as engineers, and so on, you really can actually, that youth of the continent impacting way beyond the continent itself, but throughout the whole world, given the creativity that it can actually launch and so on. So that's the African Free Trade Agreement is very important to unleash the potential of the continent and to get internal development in the continent. Some of these things are contained in the African Union's Agenda 2063, And you are right, science, technology, and innovation will also be central, even in promoting the African Free Trade Agreement itself, by mobilization of science and technology to actually grow the continental economy. Of course, part of that will have to build infrastructure. One thing that is a takeaway, you've been asking me about takeaways, it's not that it's something I didn't know, but it struck me more. You can't have a digital skills and a digitally based economy unless you've got digital infrastructure, which is very important that we actually share. It's not going to have, by the way, the developed world to work like to repeat another 100 to 200 years of unequal development. The potential now of persisting inequality in the world is going to be a threat globally to the world itself, to our economies and so on. So it's very important that we talk inclusion, which is another theme that was not as strong as I would have expected at the World Economic Forum where I participated, that we actually do need inclusion. Artificial intelligence is a very big discussion. It must be inclusive. It must involve less developed countries so that they are also able to use modern technologies to actually grow their own economy. So that is very important, that those issues that we are saying on this issue of what are the platforms, what do we need to do in order to be able to meaningfully participate.
Dr. Nzimande, thank you very much for your time. A powerful message there saying that although he attended quite interesting sessions about where the reskilling is going to take place around the world. 1 billion people have been identified, but the African continent is not being considered for that reskilling in terms of digital skills. These are happening elsewhere in the world. It's something that the continent must do something about in order not to be left behind when it comes to that advancement. Back to you in studio, Dudu.
Newzroom Africa's business editor, Nzimande, thank you very much.